Hello, thanks for tuning in. I want to tell you about an unexpected find on our visit to the Rameses exhibit at the De Young Museum. Yes, there's the Celtic link, because women in Egypt too had been equal to men before the Roman invasion. When male dictatorships came to Egypt, women lost their rights, just as they had in Celtic Europe. The interconnectedness of the ancient world comes through in the bright, colorful designs and the way Egyptians honored their heroes. But when Egypt succumbed to Roman imperialism, the library burned and the equitable Egyptian culture was pierced through the heart. Egypt is foundational to the story of Europe, as are the Hittites and Celts. This short clip looks at some basic ties carried from Africa to Europe and some families that settled and flourished along the way. Why should we think about this? It's because cataclysmic changes for women are being caused by male dictators worldwide in real time. Women in Ukraine and Iran endure the same kinds of persecutions as our ancestral mothers, and from the same kind of men who gravely wave their religious flags. We need to know what motivates these attacks. From medieval burnings of women at the stake to today's murderous rapes in Ukraine and Iran, there's an obvious common thread. Male dictatorships equate to horrific treatment of women. In the times before the Roman Empire, women from Africa to Europe appear to have worked hand in hand alongside their men. Changes in the treatment of women obviously occur when male dictators take over. Let's think of three ancient places along a major migration route, and let's think of them as a continuum. So we'll look at Egypt, Anatolia, and Europe. From Egypt toward Europe, both the Hittite and Celtic families probably proceeded more or less along the same well-worn path. Egyptians, Hittites, and Celts must all have derived from the same ancestors because they all started from the same place. Along the way, some stayed, some forged ahead, some slipped back. Genetic studies confirm these patterns. Let's imagine that originally the path from Africa to Europe consisted of interrelated family domains, because in all likelihood they did. Alexandria, Egypt was a gateway to both Europe and Asia. Anatolia, land of the Hittites, lay further along major migration routes to Europe and was inhabited by Celtic people. The Rhine-Danube River corridor led people into continental Europe, which was also inhabited by Celts. Let's look at Egypt. Brightly painted scenes of men and women adorn the walls of their gathering halls. Egyptians, Hittites, and Celts all depict the sun and other natural elements in their art. Women are shown favorably with heads held high, not contrite or subservient. Temples were gathering places for the living, and tombs were places for mortals to visit their dead. When attacked by Roman imperialists, both temples and tombs were hidden underground, much like the Celtic tumuli. Hittites and Celts knew how to smelt iron at least 500 years before Roman imperialists invaded their lands. How could these two families both develop this capability when much of the rest of the world never did? Iron smelting is not a discovery as much as it is an invention. Did these two places far from Africa along the migration routes maintain contact? It certainly seems probable. Both the Rhineland and Anatolia were full of family-centric, nature-loving Celts who celebrated their accomplishments. As in Celtic Europe, Christianity brought dictatorship to Egypt. Women became the property of men. The Christian conquest burned books and erased Egypt's native educational system. Do you remember that Alexandria was famous for the greatest library in the ancient world? Who is reputed to have burned that library and killed its female librarian, Hypatia? Cyril, the Christian warrior monk who also fabricated not just another language, but a whole other script that he named after himself, Cyrillic. How did the Christian conquest kill the age-old networks that had transported both humans and trade to all points? Christian imperial severed those venerable lines of communication and chopped Europe to pieces. Ancient trade had been eye-popping. Exquisite lapis lazuli came from far-off Afghanistan. Why did Egyptians need lapis? As grave ornamentation for honoring heroes. What other Celtic similarities exist in the artwork? Both Hittites and Celts made figurines showing uplifting images of women. From their traces, it's abundantly clear that the native people who inhabited the regions along ancient migration routes were family-based and honored their women. These are the ancestors we need to emulate, not the ones who wage war against women. Since changes in the treatment of women occur when male dictators take over, we need to keep our distance from male dictators. Electing women leaders is not a bad place to start. Thanks for listening. Be safe and protect our women everywhere.